Let me tell y'all something about taking days off. Taking days off is something that we think is going to help us because it's like, well, I worked hard yesterday so I can take a day off. Let me tell you what life is actually like. Life is like an ocean flooding into your house, a little bit at a time. And every day you got to get up and use buckets to dump it out to keep the house dry, right? When you take a day off, the same amount of water comes in as every other day. If you take 2 days off, now you got some water, standing water, the whole floor is flooded a little bit. If you decide, you know what, that's too much work to try to get out in one day, I'm going to take another day off and maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Now you got 3 times as much water flooding into your house. I decided that I was going to take some days off because the holidays were here and because it was too cold outside and I didn't have the clothes to get outside and get stuff done. And let me tell you about the water that came into my house. I have gained 16 pounds in 8 weeks. Everything hurts. You can see how inflamed and puffy my face is. And I had to get up every day this week against my will and bucket water out of my house. And guess what? It's still a flood. It's still up to my chest, up to my shoulders. But I can breathe now a little bit. I cannot afford to sit and go, well, it's too flooded now, so I'm just not going to take the buckets out. You will drown. Life will drown you if you let it. The reason why some of you are not getting up and exercising is because your body hurts too much. And you know why? Because you let the water creep in little by little over time and over years. Some of us are in our 50s, 60s. If you're hearing this and you're young, man, get up every day and work out. No days off. If it's just a mile walk, that can be your rest day, okay? You cannot let things, it's the same thing with finances, it's the same thing with spirituality. You cannot put off for tomorrow what needs to be done today because it will compile and you will drown. And you will find yourself like these wasted of space people that you see at Walmart and, at whatever, places that you go, and they are in a wheelchair. You know that they didn't get some sort of back injury. They're in that wheelchair because they let the water come in day by day and they didn't try to bucket it out. They got to a point where they thought it's useless, so I'm not going to try. And they thought, I can live in a house full of water. They are drowning. And their bodies are pouring over the edge of a wheelchair seat because they decided one day it was too hard to walk and they needed to sit down. And they never got back up. I don't care if you are in that exact position. I don't care if you are 600-pound life and you're in a wheelchair and it's hard for you to get up and down and you got to walk with a cane. Listen, you can recover from this. You can start bucketing out the water and get to where you are strong. I don't care if they just cut off one of your feet from diabetes. There is stuff that you can do to bucket out the water. That is a flooding moment. You almost drown. You lost your foot, and now you got to live life without a foot, but you're alive. You got a second chance. Do not waste the second chance. I use that as an example. I actually just had a family member that had their part of their foot cut off because they didn't realize they were injured, and they were just, going to work every day and keeping their head down and just kind of living. They went through some, they came out of some serious childhood trauma to become strong, to become part of a family, to have that family ripped away from him, and to kind of just, I'm just going to keep my head down and do what I need to be done and be a reliable person at this job, which is super honorable. It's awesome. But that water kept kind of flooding in because he wasn't doing what God created him to do. And now, he's had a wake-up call, which sucks. But I'm super excited about what God's about to do because wake-up calls get us up and going. So I don't know if this made sense. I obviously didn't want to do a video because I'm out here looking crazy in my bonnet. It was freezing out here this morning. I put on 2 layers of pants and the weights on my ankles And you know what? The workout hurt the whole time. I was in pain the whole time, and I was like, well, yeah, it hurts. Yeah, the house is full of water, and I got to bucket it out. And hopefully, in the coming days and weeks, I'll get a little stronger and a little stronger, and I will get to the point where I can afford to take a day off. And hopefully on that day, I will make a decision not to, and I won't let the flood come back in again, because I got a lot of work to do, because there was a lot of years where I wasn't working, and that's what's put me in the position I'm in now. And the truth is, it doesn't matter. I used to be motivated by like how I looked, or, mostly that, because I used to be real cute when I was younger. And so I was like trying to maintain that. And the truth is, at this point, I just want to create something of value that I can leave behind to my kids, so that they have, something for their kids type stuff. Like, a righteous man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And right now I could lay back on my laurels and say, well, I get, I can get a disability check from the government and just kind of survive and just kind of, have my little life. But there is something in me that is so vicious. It's like what I could have been, should have been, is fighting to get to the surface. The books that I should have written by now are fighting to get to the surface. The weightlifting competition that I should have won by now is fighting to get to the surface. The doctorate degree that I should have on the wall by now, is fighting to get to the surface. And I'm 43 years old, and I'm just getting to the point where, thankfully, the Lord has helped me to find the motivation to just refuse to let those things die. I refuse to let those things be buried with me in the grave and never come to light. And I don't care if you are in your 70s. This could be the greatest decade of your life if you lean into Jesus and ask him for wisdom and ask him for help, and put your mind and your heart and your spirit towards it, and submit yourself fully to him and surrender to him and say, Jesus, I don't want to take all my talents with me. I don't want to bury my talent and not produce anything. Help me produce something in these final days. And if you're young, man, if you lean into Jesus, you have no idea what you can accomplish. No, young or old, you have no idea what you can actually accomplish. And so I've got a weirdo staring at me, watching me for no reason. So I'm going to get out of here, but I love y'all. And sorry I haven't been making videos. It's because I've been feeling like this. I've been letting the water in and not shoveling it out by buckets. And I've been embarrassed because I started off this video channel feeling kind of strong and kind of, like I might have something to offer maybe, And then I just let the water overwhelm me, and I was like, man, I don't have nothing to offer these people. I just let it flood in. And after a week of exercise, my mind is more clear, and I'm able to process things better, because I'm not drowning. I'm surrounded by water, and it's hard to function, but I'm not completely drowning to where I'm unconscious. Really is what I could call it. I went unconscious for 8 weeks, and I apologize. I'm ready to stand up and fight again. And so, if I ever encouraged you before in past videos, just know that obviously, all of our heroes fall. Like, we're all human at the end of the day, and we put our pants on one leg at a time. And there's going to be days when I let the water in certain areas. I might let the water in some other area. Like, I might get stuck on social media half the day, or whatever. But my attempt is to rid myself of every vice that is holding me back from what God has called me to. Because if he called me to it, that means he's equipped me to go through it and to produce it. And so there's no excuse. Well, I have trauma. I have, I have PTSD. Like, the amount of brain damage that I had from the severe trauma I mean, people go off to war and they spend 2 years, you know, overseas, and they see stuff, and then they come back and they're fucked up for life. You know what I'm saying? And I had like 20 years of continuous trauma, like being in a war zone. And so I could kick back and say, you know what, I'm damaged. I have a right to, you know, I have a right to my damage, to my story. I can hold my little broken wing and say I can't fly because somebody broke my wing. Or I can rehab that bitch. And I can, somebody messaging me, and I can get up and figure out how to fly again. You know what I mean? And maybe show others. But whether or not I show others, I am responsible for what I have been given. And I've been born in a free country. And every available privilege is given to me as a United States, you know, citizen. And the truth is, I have squandered it, man. But Jesus changes everything. So hopefully next time you see me on here, I will be looking a little bit better. But hey, I'm gonna do what I can do with what I have, and this is what I have right now. My little chubby, full of pain body, and I got up and I got my workout done before sunrise, even though it was cold. And now I'm here making a video for you fine folks, and it's already been almost 12 minutes. So I'm gonna let y'all go and see you next time. But man, get up and grab a bucket. Start bucking out the water. Ask Jesus to help you. He will. I love y'all. I don't know what pot number this is. I'll put it in the title.